Just when you thought we'd done every single Championship League table prediction possible here on the channel, we've got one more to bring you because I've brought my own Championship League table predictions that will be linked at the top of the screen in one of the corners. We've also looked at what the bookies think, and we've even asked AI what that predicts will happen in the Championship this season. But we are finishing off because today Opta have released their 1 to 24 league table using their incredible algorithm and supercomputer, which, as it does in the Premier League and many other leagues, provides incredible data that's used by a variety of sources like Sky Sports, among many others, and it basically has simulated every single fixture of the Championship season 10,000 times and chucked out the results, put them into a league table, and drawn out the average position for each team, where they ended up, and their probability of automatic promotion, playoffs, and relegation. So let's see what the supercomputer said, starting from the very bottom. So if you don't know what Opta is, here's a little summary, and this is how it has worked. So Opta's league prediction model estimates the likelihood of teams finishing in each position in the competition. We can therefore see how successful a team's season is likely to be, whether it's their relegation or title chances. The model estimates the probability of each match outcome, win, draw, or loss by using betting market odds and the Opta Power rankings. The odds and rankings are based on historical and recent team performances. The model considers the strength of opponents by using these match outcome probabilities and simulates the remaining fixtures in the competition thousands of times. By analysing the outcome of these simulations, the model can see how often each team finished where in the league to create our final predictions. After simulating the Championship 24-25 season 10,000 times, we're able to average the point total of every club across all of them simulations and therefore rank these teams positionally. Here is the Opta supercomputer results from all them simulations, starting with number 24, bottom of their league. It's Cardiff City. Yeah, Cardiff are bottom. It's gave them, and they're the only side, I believe, in the whole league that's got a automatic promotion chance of 0. Flat 0. No chance. Not even a glimmer. No chance. 0%, as low as it can get. Playoffs, they've got 0.8, so still very unlikely. Relegation, 49.6%, so extremely high, really. It's the flip of a coin, you could say, for Cardiff, and their average points totaled at 50.6. Now, I must admit, obviously, this is simulated over 10,000 times, and the average points has come out there. So there's going to be simulations where they're really high, some they're really low. The average points, I would say, from bottom to top in this league table, which you'll see along the side of the screen as we go, it's inflated quite a bit. And they've obviously, some have increased to the mean, some have been reduced to the mean. So the average points I wouldn't look into too much, but Cardiff being bottom is bold. Now, I will admit, since my own previous prediction of the league table, I had Cardiff sort of 15th, 16th. That's still where I would sort of put them, but I can see why possibly improving teams below them who've got a bit of momentum. Cardiff's strange recruitment with some players they've brought in. I can see why some would have them possibly slipping into a relegation battle if they're not careful, but having them bottom of the league, I can't see happening. In 23rd, they've got Plymouth, who came out with an automatic promotion chance of 0.2%, so very slim. Playoffs, 2.9. Relegation was significantly lower than Cardiff's, 34.9, so still 1 in every 3, just about, and an average points total of 53.7. Once again, this points total will get you safe completely. But they do come second bottom of all 24 teams, and this matches up with a lot of predictions that I've seen. I'd love Plymouth to stay up, as you guys know, but following the mess that last season became, in the end, them surviving just, and the appointment of a man who sent Birmingham on their way to one of the most cataclysmic downfalls and relegations we've ever seen at Championship level, you can absolutely see why there is a lot of pessimism around Wayne Rooney. Of course, this can change. I think everyone who's a football neutral hope it does. But absolutely, Plymouth are down there as one of the favourites for relegation. In 22nd, they've got Oxford United with an automatic promotion chance of 0.6%. Playoffs, 3.8. Relegation, slightly lower, 27.9, with an average points of 55. This matches up once again with everything we've seen thus far. Oxford are down there, bottom, with a lot of people in most people's bottom 3. Recruitment's not been too bad. I think they're going to give themselves a fighting chance, but it's going to be so competitive down there this season, and they did come up with only 77 points in League One, so they're one of the weaker League One sides to come up. So it would be an incredible stretch for Oxford to do it. I think every neutral hopes they do, but it is pretty natural to have them in your bottom 3. In 21st, it's got Sunderland. Interesting. So their automatic promotion chances are at 0.6%. Their playoffs are only at 4.3, with a relegation chance of 24.1. So that's 1 in every 4. And this is a little bit harsh on Sunderland. I mean, I've seen some incredible EFL pundits, like Gab Sutton, who I think is fantastic. He's got them to win the title. You know, I think Sunderland are one of them teams where you could drop anywhere and probably forge an argument as to why they'll be as high as you think they'll be or as low as you'll think they'll be. For me personally, I stand by what I said in my prediction. I think they'll be mid-table. I don't think Reggie Labrie is that convincing, but even if he does get them clicking, I think there'll be a degree of transition and maybe a slow start, but I can't see them consistently challenging for playoffs over the course of the season. This is a brand new start for Sunderland. They'll go through a bit of a transition. Can't see them getting sucked into anything dangerous, so I wouldn't agree with this prediction. In 20th, it's got QPR with an automatic promotion chance of just under 1%, playoffs at 6%, relegation just under 20%. Now, I think they'll improve. I can see why, maybe based off of recent, historical performances, why it'd have QPR down there. They have, on average, been in and around that area of the table since they got relegated from the Premier League. They've had a shocking time in the Championship so far, so you can see why the safe bet on historical data would have them down there, but I think we've seen last season with Cifuentes, they should be on an uphill trajectory. They should continue climbing, albeit steadily. I think mid-table would be a good finish. My only concern, which could bring this prediction to truth and reality, is if Cifuentes gets poached away, which there were, whispers in the summer of a few clubs that were interested. That's my only worry and the only cause for me that this happens to QPR and they revert back to where they were if they lose Cifuentes. But for me, I can see why it's come up with this prediction, but I think they'll be a lot higher. In 19th, it's got Derby County, pretty much exactly where I had them, a little bit higher, but automatic promotion, stay about the same, just under 1%, playoffs at 6%, relegation 18%, so they are still a little bit higher, but you can see the percentages starting to even out as we head up the table. I still believe Derby will have enough to stay up. My doubts still remain around Paul Warne and the fact he's never kept a side in the Championship, and it'll be interesting to see how he deals with the pressure of being at a much bigger club this time at Derby. But I think they should have enough, but there's equally just as much of a chance if they get dragged into it, things could turn quickly, and if they get rid of Paul Warne, it's a case of who do they bring in. So on a bit of a knife edge with Derby, I think they'll be okay, but absolutely I can see why things could quite easily go off the rails. In 18th, it's got Preston. Now, this is exactly where I think a lot of people have got Preston. When I first put my predicted league table together, I put Preston down there. Maybe I had them in 18th, actually. And I thought, have I been a bit harsh there? But every other prediction I've seen has got them down there. So I completely agree with this prediction and many others. I think this is spot on. I think, as it say, automatic promotion and playoff chances I think are very slim, but I don't think relegation is going to be that high either. It's got them at 17.9%, but for me, I think there'll be a natural regression here. I think it could be coming. You can tell when a club is coming towards the end of a life cycle, and I think Ryan Lowe's time might gradually come to an end this season. Hopefully, in a peaceful manner, and not one that sees Preston in the relegation zone and things go into a bit of chaos and upheaval. I think, again, with so many sides, I think improving below Preston, I think they will slip down into the bottom half, and I can see them going as low as 18th, I'll be absolutely honest. So, yeah, I don't think this is out the realms of possibility. In 17th, it's got Portsmouth. Now, I had them lower, but I've seen arguments for why they might slip into the bottom 3. I've seen plenty that has them higher, and same sort of automatic promotion chances as the teams around them. Could say the same with playoffs, but a little reduction in relegation probability at 17%. I think all these teams in and around this area of the table are so similar, and you'll notice when we get into the top 10, the percentages start really, really splitting out, and there's a big jump between sides. So it just goes to show, I think, when they've simulated the table 10,000 times, how close a lot of these teams actually are on average. And I think that only shows how competitive it will be down there this season, and how one bad run of form, one bad managerial decision could have you in bother. So, yep, I think Portsmouth will be in and around this area of the table. It's a bit higher than where I've got them, but I completely agree. I think a solid finish away from the drop to build on for the next season. I think this is spot on, and I think it will be a good one for Portsmouth. In 16th, it's got Blackburn Rovers, a lot higher than where I had them. I had them in my bottom 3. I've seen a few people have them in their bottom 3, but quite a few who haven't. And I think a lot of faith is being put in John Eustace, I'll be absolutely honest, and I can completely see why. However, since my prediction, Blackburn have started to bring in quite a few players. I'm not going to judge them either way. They might end up being game changers. They might end up being ineffective. I can't really place much of a judgment, but they've started bringing players in, which is a positive compared to where they were, so that might give them a fighting chance, but I don't think they'll be as high as 16th. I think they'll be similar to where they were this season. They'll probably stay up, if they do, by the skin of their teeth if they don't get relegated. But as you can see, alongside all the other sides, very slim in terms of percentage chances for playoffs or automatic promotion, and they're in the mix for relegation at 15.9% as well. So yeah, we'll see what happens with Blackburn. This could be the best finish they could hope for. In 15th, they've got Watford, and I think I had Watford in and around this position, maybe 16th, I can't recall exactly, but again, really low in terms of automatics and playoffs. But I'll be honest, I've seen a lot of podcasts and pundits have Watford, some bottom, some in the bottom 3, and you know what, I'm growing more and more concerned, and I am going to revisit my league table predictions at the end of the window, like I did last season, and I do have growing concerns about Watford. I'm starting to see a lot of the players they're losing. Wesley Hoyt, I think, is off. Esprit has been linked with a move away. A lot of big players are off, and I don't see anyone coming in to replace them. And you look at the downwards trajectory and the regression of the Watford side since they got relegated, and the fact that the parachute payments have seemingly vanished, and there's nothing really there to show for them, is a concern, and I just worry that this downward slip is going to continue, and it might even speed up. Now, they've not got the parachute payments. Tom Cleverley's relatively inexperienced, and we know how chaotic things can get at Watford when things go wrong, so I can see why this could go wrong extremely quickly, and Watford could be embroiled in a lot of trouble. But Opta's got them 15th, and I think, given where things are at the minute, I think they'd settle for that. In 14th, they've got Millwall. Once again, things are starting to even out now. Not much chance of automatics. Playoffs and relegation are pretty similar. We are definitely in the realms of teams now that are just going to be in the middle, not really in danger, not really challenging. I had Millwall a bit higher just because I respect the job Neil Harris did last season. But I guess, on one hand, you could put him in the same category as Danny Roll and Cifuentes and respect the fact that he had them flying last season. But I guess, as Benjamin Bloom would say, the legend would say, there could be a regression to the mean, and they might just start to average out and hit a few bumpy spots, which is understandable. I mean, not the top 20 that the amazing guys over there had Millwall getting relegated just because of their recruitment and how it doesn't seem to all fit together, and I can completely see that point as well. So I think pairing the positives and the negatives, I think a mid-table finish for Millwall might actually be in and around the right choice for me, and I think, like a lot of teams, if they finish 14th, I think they'd be happy. In 13th, they've got Stoke, so it's good to see Opta not getting too carried away, like a lot of people do every season with Stoke, and then undoubtedly getting bitten on the arse after they finish 18th every season. But yeah, you can see there, 10% chance of playoffs, 11% chance of relegation. It doesn't really have Stoke going anywhere, and as I've said, Stoke just need a stable season. They just need a season without drama, where they keep a manager from game 1 to game 46. I can't recall, was it Michael O'Neill? Was he the last manager at Stoke to last the season? There's always chop and change. There's not really much continuity at Stoke when it comes to the manager or the playing squad. They just need to get on a path, settle, and think long term, and stop being so reactionary all the time. So if they can just have a steady season, keep everyone together, not do anything rash, they could finish 13th, and it could be finally the start of Stoke moving in the right direction. In 12th, they've got Sheffield Wednesday. So they also see an improvement in Sheffield Wednesday, as I think most of us do. However, they are smack bang in the middle of the table. Their playoff chances are higher than their relegation chances, though, which is very interesting. 12% chance of playoffs ain't bad, you know, and I think we've took a bit of a jump, actually. Now we're in the top half. I had Sheff Wed a bit higher. I stand by that. I think they could be definitely challengers for top 10, but even then, top half, as I say, would still be outstanding. I know a lot of Owls fans are thinking they could get playoffs. Not this year, I think, being realistic, but this would still be an unbelievable result, and I think everyone's kind of in the same boat with this one. In 11th, they've got Swansea City. Now, I'm growing on Swansea, I'm not going to lie, and I'm kind of glad we've got them on the opening day to get them out the way, because since my last prediction, where I think I put them 19th, they've started bringing in a few players that are actually quite impressive, and I think too early this season. I feel like if they might take a couple of months to really bed in and gel, but I think Swansea could start coming good by the end of this season, and I think it'll be too late for them to challenge too much, but a top half finish could be on the cards, and I think if they just build, like I say with a lot of sides, and keep Luke Williams and just, long term get playing the Swansea way, which I've heard being mentioned, and just build a team gradually, think long term, I think Swansea could gradually work their way into the top half this season, and then the next season really, really have a go for the playoffs once again. So although I had them quite lower, they are growing on me with what they're doing recruitment-wise, and 11th isn't that far from where they could end up. In 10th, it's got Bristol City, exactly where I had the Robins. A decent chance of playoffs here, 3.7 automatic, so still quite far off of them heights, but 17.6% chance of playoffs, which I think's very promising for Bristol City, given the fact that they've been so mid-table and so mediocre for so long. But I, along with many others, see what Liam Manning has done in past jobs at Oxford, at MK Dons, and I think given a full pre-season, given a full season, and just time, I can see Bristol City heading in the right direction. I think I might have said this in my predictions. They just need patience. If things might not hit the ground running instantly, even this season, but I think in time, he will have Bristol City fighting consistently for the playoffs, which is somewhere they've not been since they've gotten into the Championship. So they're on the right track. They're still quite a way away, but I think 10th is definitely a realistic position. It's where I had them, and I think it would be a good first step towards potentially a bright future for them. In 9th, it's got Sheffield United. This is interesting. Now, not really much chance of automatics here, 5.8%. Strong playoff chance, though. I think we are entering top 8, top 9, a group of teams which I think can seriously be considered for playoffs here. 22.4%, significantly higher than Bristol City. Relegation's not even worth looking at this point, but we are now entering them group of teams, so I think we'll all be scrambling for the tail end of the playoffs, and Sheffield United will absolutely be there. Again, they've grown on me since my prediction. I'm still not 100% convinced of top 6, but Harrison Burrows has come in alongside O'Hare and Kiefer Moore, and I think they've recovered what looked like a pretty dire situation a couple of weeks ago, and although I still don't think it will be smooth, I just think they'll have enough to be there or thereabouts. So 9th's probably the worst I can see Sheffield United being. I had them a bit higher, I think I had them 8th. Yeah, 9th is realistic, but I think they'll just grow and probably become bigger favourites as the season goes on. In 8th, it's got Hull City. Now, I don't agree with this. In fact, I think I had Hull in a respectable 14th or 13th. But as time's gone on, they've actually regressed in my estimations. I'm actually getting really concerned for Hull the more I think about it. So 8th, I think, is bold, and I wouldn't quite agree with it. 24.5% chance of playoffs, not for me. I think they've got a higher chance of relegation at this moment in time. I believe their top 6 goal scorers from last season have all gone. We don't need to reel them all off. We all know the names. They've lost both who were on loan and permanently, and their pre-season has been shocking, if I'm honest with Hull. I think they'll play a style of football that is chaotic. It'll be fun, but I think as much as it might win them a lot of games, I think it will lose them a ton of games as well, and it might just drop them into a bit of dangerous water, I think, if they're not careful. So for me, Hull 8th, I can't see it. I think that's very, very bold. I think they could be looking over their shoulders more so than looking ahead. In 7th, they've gone with Coventry City. They do not have Coventry in the playoffs. Now, I everyone I've seen, everyone I've looked at's had Coventry in the playoffs. I've got Coventry in the playoffs. Some have even got them in the automatic, but not Opta. They've got them 7th. Automatic promotion chances at 9, well, just under 9%. Very slim there. Playoff chances, though, 27.6. That's still pretty good. As I say, it's nip and tuck, if I'm honest. And you'll see, that there's a bit of a leap to the next team, but it's not writing Coventry off. It's still got them in the mix, but I think maybe average points-wise, they've just dropped beneath the teams. But for me, I think they're in a very, very strong position to kick on and really go for it this season. I don't quite subscribe to them being automatic promotion contenders, but I think, like Boro, they are ready to take a natural step forward, which should see them into the playoffs. And anything less, I think, would be deemed quite a disappointment. So in 6th, it's got Norwich City. Automatic promotion chances have jumped here by almost 5%. 14% chance it's got of Norwich getting up via autos. 33% playoffs, so that's 1 in 3. Very, very strong. Now, although I had Norwich just outside the playoffs in 7th in my predictions, their trio are leaving. They're in trouble because Sarah, I think I listed in that video, Sarah, Sargent and Rowe are the 3 big players for Norwich. Johnny Rowe is off to Leeds, apparently. We've got Sarah, who's left for Galatasaray, and Sargent has got interest as well. And if Norwich lose them 3, well, I feel bad for them firstly because they've been ransacked of their best players, and I know the feeling when you don't get it through the playoffs, you sort of suffer the following season. But if Norwich lose them 3, I think Thorpe's got such a tough job on his hands, and I think getting them anywhere near playoffs at that point would be so tough. So Norwich, I think, just due to the players they're losing, are dropping in my estimations. How they replace them could make the difference, but for me, I think losing Sarah, possibly losing Rowe, I don't think that team makes playoffs. In 5th, Luton Town. Yes, Luton are down in 5th, the team I had as champions. And to be fair, the odds are still pretty strong here. 16.7% automatics ain't bad, although I'd have them a lot higher. Pretty much guaranteed a chance at playoffs. They're almost just over 1 in every 3. It's pretty darn strong. But I've seen interesting arguments for both, with Luton. I've seen a few mention a couple of good points I didn't really consider, and that is that, how will they cope being favourites? How will they cope being expected to bounce back? Luton have always done extremely well as the underdog, but it could be interesting to see how they cope with the favourites tag, expected to be in with the automatic promotion battle. But I still stand by a lot of what I said. I think they'll be consistent. I don't think they'll panic. They won't get too high, they won't get too low, and I think they'll just be solid enough that even if they're not there for the majority of the season, I think gradually they'll just naturally sneak in because they'll just be so solid, consistent and calm and composed. But playoffs is a must for Luton. I can absolutely see them being top 5 at least. So although this is a bit low for me, yeah, that's where they should be at least. In 4th, it's got West Bromwich Albion with a slightly stronger percentage for automatic promotion. 38%, however, to get playoffs. A lot of that is down to Carlos Corberán, and I had West Brom 4th as well, so this is exactly where I had them. And I mentioned my faith in Carlos Corberán for what he can do off the pitch when clubs are in trouble and in dire straits. And I said in my video, pretty much directly quoting myself here, we've seen what Carlos Corberán can do with a team struggling off the pitch, so God knows what he can do with a team that has clarity and harmony off it. And then this week, news has come out that West Brom are being placed not under an embargo. They've not used the words embargo, but they are going to be heavily limited to what they can do in the transfer market, which genuinely shocked me given the fact they've got new owners. So they're going to need Corberán to pull off another minor miracle. I had them going up because I just thought if there's calm off the pitch, they'll only get better. But now, with that hanging over them, it's going to be another big job for Corberán. Can he get them in the playoffs? Of course he can. We've seen him do it, but it now looks like a much tougher task than it did before. So 4th is probably a stretch at this point, and I think I'd have West Brom at the tail end of the playoffs, scrambling to sneak in at the bottom potentially. I wouldn't have them in my top 4 anymore. In 3rd, Opta's got Burnley. Yes, 18.5% chance of automatic promotion, so still not that much higher than the other teams. We are heading towards maybe 1 in every 5. Playoffs though, 35.5, so still very, very strong. The more I look at Burnley, the more I am convinced they probably will get top 2. I know I had Luton and Leeds as my top 2, but Burnley's squad, the more I look at it, is ridiculous. It is stacked. It is too big. They'll have to let a lot of them players go, so they'll have to be quite selective with who they let go. But, I mean, it would be an absolute failure, wouldn't it, if Scott Parker didn't get Burnley into the top 2. And if he didn't, he'd have to get them up by the playoffs. It would be such a massive failure if he didn't. You know, Burnley are looking so ridiculously strong. So third is interesting. You know, it's where I had them once again. So Opta's matched up with, well, a lot of my top 4, not quite the top 2, which you'll see in a moment, but Burnley, they'll be there in and around that area, but I think still not top 2 would be a failure. They'd have to go up by the playoffs. Teams who finish third normally do, so maybe this is okay for Burnley, but the more I look at them, the more I fancy them. In second, and you'll notice, a certain team hasn't been mentioned yet, because in second, Opta has got Boro. Now, it's not only that Boro are in second that I was shocked, because I didn't see this coming. I'm genuinely surprised. But our percentage chances are ridiculous. So obviously Opta simulated the championship 10,000 times. Our chances of automatic promotion here are 27.5%. That is almost 10% higher than Burnley. Our playoff chances are 37.7%. Even as a Boro fan, and don't get me wrong, I grinned from ear to ear reading this. I hope Opta's right, but I can't agree with this. I think maybe Boro, if we got Tommy Conway, Ryan Giles, Micah Hamilton sounds like he's coming in, then yeah, we got a chance, but we have to be a lot better defensively for me if we are to compete consistently with a lot of the teams near the top. That's what I think is going to hold us back. I had us 4th. I stand by that, 4th or 5th for me. However, if Boro were to finish second, I'd be over the moon, and whatever this supercomputer's smoking, I'd like some of that. And first, now this was quite crazy. It's Leeds United, obviously, but the odds and the percentages for Leeds were absolutely crazy. They were not only first via Opta's data and statistics and generated results, they were top by a country mile. Their automatic promotion percentage has come out at 63.4%. That's almost 40% higher than Boro's. They're not even head and shoulders clear. They're in a different, well, pardon the pun, a different league. It's crazy. They have a 63% chance of getting automatic promotion. That's 2 in every 3, so you may as well promote them now. And they were also 45% chance of finishing top. So basically a flip of a coin and they're winning the title. Bonkers. Playoff chances are relatively standard, but that's just because they finished in the top 2 so often in Opta's predictions. It's not even a conversation, and their relegation odds were at 0%. They're the only team who in all 10,000 simulations did not at any stage fall into the bottom 3, and in fact their lowest finish out of all 10,000 simulations was 17th. So Leeds are fancied massively, and a lot of people subscribe to the fact they should get top 2. I think a lot of this data will be based off of last season and the fact that any other season with that points tally, they would have probably won the title. And of course, Daniel Farke's history with championship clubs is he hits 90 points every single time. So I completely see why Leeds are favourites, although to be favourites by this much, absolutely crazy. So guys, there is Opta's thoughts on predictions as to where it thinks each team will finish in the championship. Very, very interesting. I mean, for me, there's a lot of outliers. I'm going to pick out my own team here. Boro, I don't think will be that high. I think Coventry will be in the playoffs. I think Hull have been overestimated. You could say West Brom at this point and Norwich. But as the transfer window progresses, these statistics will change, and we could revisit them if that's something you guys would be interested in. I love collating the numbers. I find data so interesting. And there's a few teams at the bottom like Watford who are starting to really, really concern me as the weeks tick by. But we'll see how close Opta's supercomputer was, because if you look at the screen, this is how they did last season. And to be fair, they were not a million miles away last season with their predicted Championship League table. You can see their expected and actual Championship finishes. Naturally, Ipswich were a lot higher, but still, they had Ipswich up there. They had them in 4th. Ipswich obviously overperformed. Sunderland were outliers in terms of how badly they did compared to Opta's predictions. You could say they were a little bit out with Norwich. But other than that, you're looking down the bottom with Preston and Cardiff massively overperforming. Most teams, they were pretty close. So don't rule out Opta. And as a Boro fan, that makes me a little bit excited. But let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, guys. If you've enjoyed this video, do it a like on the video. It helps support the video and the channel out and is massively appreciated. Subscribe for more and hit the bell too so you never miss a video. All my other league table predictions are dotted on the channel, so check them out and hit the bell too so you never miss when a video drops. We're going to be previewing every Boro game, reviewing every Boro game going forward and doing lots more championship content. So subscribe if that interests you. Comment where you think Opta has got things right and where you think Opta's got things wrong. And until next time, guys, do take care, and I'll see you all in the next one.